Hi, I'm Scott Silverii, Chief of Police for the City of Thibodaux Police Department. We welcome you to this edition of Chief's Corner. Today's segment is called Cop Talk, and what that is, we're going to introduce the viewers to specific language that we use in law enforcement profession. Sometimes it's informal jargon, sometimes it's very specific terminology. The term we're going to discuss today is HVE. It means highly visible enforcement, and what it refers to is it's conducting highly visible enforcement operations in a certain location, which could be traffic stops or building checks or just community concerns. And what the deterrent effect is when the community sees the blue lights from the squad car come on, it allows them to know that the law enforcement officials are in the area, and usually that's a general deterrence to the commission of crime. An example of the mapping and technology that we use for different strategies in law enforcement, particularly this segment, we talk about traffic crashes. How do we detect them and we observe them? How do we go about preventing crashes that cause injury to people and property damage? A series of maps that we use. The first one that we're going to show you would be an illustration of all the traffic crashes that occurred in the city of Thibodaux for the first quarter of this year. As you see, we start to see a pattern of where crashes occur. The next map that we're going to show you is representative of all the traffic stops that were made in the first quarter of this year. Now you'll see the different colors, and they represent traffic stops where maybe a citation was issued, a traffic stop where a warning was given. We also use a strategy called a compliance citation, where if there's an equipment failure, such as your brake light or maybe the light over your license plate or your window tint's too dark, where the officers will write a citation, but they'll give you 7 days to fix that mechanical or equipment error, and you come back to the police department and we'll have that ticket dismissed for you because you've complied with the fixing your equipment violation issue. Now, we map every one of these traffic stops, whether again it's a citation, whether it's a warning, or whether it's a 7-day compliance. The next map that we're going to show you is when you start to look at the overlay, these blue ellipses are going to represent first quarter of this year where all the crashes have occurred. Also, what you're going to see are the different multicolored dots. Those, again, are the representation of all the traffic stops that were made. Obviously, where you want to make your traffic stops are where crashes are occurring to make sure you're using your resources most effectively. Now, what are the results of using mapping of where crashes and traffic stops are made? This next illustration is going to be a representation of first quarter crashes for the last 3 years compared to the first quarter of this year. And as you can see by the bar chart, there's been a dramatic reduction in crashes in the city of Thibodaux for the first quarter of this year. This is directly related to mapping, being accountable where we allocate our resources, and making contact with the community and making them aware of maybe equipment violations or unsafe driving practices. The last slide that we're going to show you would be the percentage of all the traffic stops that we've made in the first quarter of this year, just to show that we exercise discretion. We try to work with the public, the driving public. We want to educate and enforce the safe driving strategies in the city of Thibodaux to reduce social harm and traffic crashes.
There are several reasons that you can get stopped by a police officer. Most of the times it's going to be a violation of a traffic law or some type of equipment violation. You can also get pulled over for some various other reasons. When you see that the lights are activated behind you when you're getting pulled over, you should immediately try to pull to the right-hand side of the road, of course checking for traffic and only doing so when safe. Once you pull to the right, if there's available parking lot where you can pull completely off the road, that would be helpful. There's a couple of ways that the officer can greet you. One's being that he will approach the vehicle, and second, he will ask you to step out the vehicle. Before you do anything, you should wait for the officer's directions. You can start by rolling down your window so that you can hear clearly. Kind of keep your hands in plain sight. Don't make any sudden movements in the vehicle. As if the officer is seeing some movements, that raises his alertness and may think that someone is reaching for a weapon. Once the officer greets you, he's going to be professional. He should state his name and the reason that he stopped you. Then he's going to ask for you to provide your driver's license, registration, and insurance at a minimum. He can request more documents, but at a minimum, that's what he will ask for. After he requests the documents, he may ask you, your reason for doing whatever violation you may have committed, or he may explain further on the equipment violation, whatever it may be. At that time, if you have any concerns or comments about it, you can go ahead and voice them to the officer. One thing to remember is, never argue with the officer, and the officer shouldn't argue back with the motorist. If there's any questions about the stop, that can be contested in court or at a later time. The officer at that time, he'll probably go back to his unit or away from the vehicle, where he's going to verify all of your documents, run your license and vehicle information. Once everything has came back, it's at the officer's discretion at that point what action he's going to take from there. We can issue a verbal warning, or you can get a citation, or recently what the city has started is a 7-day warning for equipment violations, where for these equipment violations, motorists have 7 days from the point of violation to get the violation fixed, and they can bring their vehicle into the police department and have it inspected, and we'll take back the ticket. Once the officer makes his determination, if you do issue a citation, or if he doesn't, he's going to return all your paperwork. If a citation is being issued, he's going to have you sign the citation. He should explain every charge on that citation, and your court date, a phone number, and where you can appear in court for the violation. Once the officer is done, he will let you know that you're free. He'll return to his vehicle, and the officer should stay behind you to allow you to pull back safely onto the road.
We'd like to thank you for tuning in to Chief's Corner, and we'll see you next time.